Teachers, what's the pettiest thing a parent has complained about? The color of red pen I use. Apparently it's too dark of a red to be considered red, and if I can't do my job properly using the correct red, I'm unqualified to teach edit, till children are delicate creatures in other countries and are scared by colors. Back when I used to teach, I had a parent once complain that my classroom was too quiet, and as a consequence her daughter and her peers got too much work done, and they felt it was bad for their daughter's brain to be learning so much so quickly. What? Even worse, I had to sit in a meeting between them and my head of faculty to discuss it. Multiple times, my HOF had to clarify that they were actually complaining that their daughter was being taught too well. I had a parent complain that her kid was wearing a tight spaghetti strap tank top because the kid got hot and took off her sweater. She yelled at me for what she dressed her kid in. Edit, how the heck did I get gold? Question mark? Thank you, stranger. The bottom of a T. She wanted me to force her daughter to write the letter T as it appears in typing. She scheduled a PTA meeting about it. Edit, I arrived at work to find that Reddit is supporting me as I deal with the fallout of this crisis. Thanks everyone. Parents once complained that I let my 7th grade intermediate ESL students read a story that was a whole 22 pages long, with images for their book report. They had more than a month to read, it was an edited copy for their level. A parent called to complain that I hadn't put her daughter's late homework into the Gradder book yet. I told her I can't put the homework in the Gradder book until she actually turns it in. This parent just kept asking me why I hadn't put it in. I kept replying with I have nothing to put in. She hasn't given it to me. Finally the call ended with ugh, some people just don't know how to do their jobs. Edit, for everyone saying I should just put in a 0, I would have, if I had been allowed to. The school did not allow teachers to put in zeros for assignments until the end of the semester. So instead I called parents every time there was an incomplete assignment and reminded them that it would become a 0 in a few weeks. Occasionally I would put in a 0 for a few days to scare a kid into getting an assignment done, but only if I knew it would work. My brother is a high school teacher. He had one kid that was early accepted into the college of his choice and decided that his entire senior year could then be the final year. My brother had multiple conversations with the parents throughout the year about the fact that student was failing, as did other teachers. Parents seemed very unconcerned by this. The day before classes ended, my brother runs into the father out in public and the father says to him, I'm very concerned about the students. Really, I think his school performance this year doesn't bode well for how he will do in college. My brother, your son is not going to college. He has to repeat at least 5 classes this year in order to get his diploma. Father, no, he's fine. He is already accepted. My brother, it's all conditional. Without his high school diploma, which we have been telling you all year he is not going to get, he can't get in. The father, who has a college degree himself, was apparently shocked by this news, and they promptly went right to the school board, trying to get his entire senior waived, because he was obviously such a strong student that a school accepted him on early admission. School board did not agree. For silly fun at the end of the term I showed an episode of Mr. Bean. He was washing his clothes and pulled a dress out accidentally and put it on. That is what they were mad at, that I was encouraging cross-dressing. They were seniors in high school. I had a screaming parent in my office because of a marginal comment I made on an essay that had received a grade of 95%, submitted by a student who was top of the class. The comment said, and I'm paraphrasing here, this argument is unworthy of you. Don't be lazy, find better sources, and don't hang your argument on idle assertions. The parent claimed I had called her daughter lazy, idle, fat, suicidal, and unworthy of being a student at institution. She actually thought I was threatening to have her expelled, or at least barred from grad school. The best part, the girl was a second-year undergraduate. The next best part, it was an open office, and my colleagues were openly mocking her the entire time. I just sat there and said nothing. I miss those guys. Edit, just to be clear, because of potential pronoun confusion, the female student had no problem with the comment, was absolutely mortified by what her mother had done, and seriously concerned that the interference would damage her academic career. I just laughed and told her I was even more impressed that she'd emerged intelligent and sane from a home environment like that, then asked if she needed any letters of reference. She did, and she got them. Her mother got a vaguely insulting note and a small tray of milk chocolates. I have my students wash their hands before lunch. Apparently, I'm being unrealistic with my expectations. Fuck off, Dawn. When I taught in an elementary school, a colleague who taught first grade was known as a bit of a germaphobe and neat freak. Her class was always late arriving to the cafeteria because she insisted that every kid have freshly clean hands. Not a big deal, right? It became a big deal when people realized that she was obsessively making her students use alcohol-based hand sanitizer over and over again each day, apparently as often as every 20 to 30 minutes or so, each time the class shifted to a new activity. By winter, most of the poor kiddos in her class had hands that were painfully dry, cracked, and bleeding from way too much hand sanitizer. A few of them, understandably so, started refusing to wash their hands at all because of how badly it would sting. Finally, after enough parents complained, that teacher was banned from having hand sanitizer in her classroom. Why she ever insisted on hand sanitizer when there was a sink inside her classroom and a restroom a couple doors down the hall is beyond me. My cousin who teaches kindergarten had a parent complain to the principal that she was irresponsible for being selfish enough to have a baby and take maternity leave before the end of the school year. That her child got lice in elementary school. Apparently it was all my fault that her child got infected. This same parent complained to me that I was calling her child by a shortened version of her name that the child asked me to use instead of her full name. I'm sure I have more, but those are just from this year. Edit, I remember something that goes along with the lice part of the story. After they got the lice out, the mom was adamant that her daughter not be hugged by anyone, or that she shouldn't get too close, but never specified what too close actually was for me to attempt to enforce to the other kids, so that she does not get infected again. This is first grade. Trying to keep kids away from each other is like herding cats. My mother's a high school teacher. This is one of her stories. This kid turns 18, joins the military. Mother goes ballistic, storms into the school, yelling at everyone, well, just the staff. Saying this is all the school's fault. That he was corrupted into joining, and things like that. Demands to talk to the kid's teacher, my mom. My mom says this seems like a talk you should be having with your kid. Not me. Lady goes ballistic, again. My mom has to call the app to escort her out of the building. After hearing that, no wonder the kid want to join right after high school. One of my students was a child of a coworker. Both were huge pains in the ass. Coworker mother stormed into the class after school to complain that her son had earned a C+ or B, can't remember, on a homework assignment the week before. She was upset that I hadn't contacted her. I explained that I always immediately entered grades into a system that parents had access to online. Parents could view grades, the school calendar, etc. The school employee who maintained the site. Her. So she knew how to use it. Coworker mother demanded that I contact her personally whenever her son made less than an A and got upset when I said that I wouldn't. I told her I didn't have the time, I had the work of 2 teachers. An email wouldn't take long for me to send, but I didn't want to give myself yet another thing to remember, then risk getting chewed out for forgetting, and risk all the other parents wanting the same useless courtesy. I said I'd contact her if I noticed a trend of slipping grades, which wasn't the issue with her son. His grades were great overall. This pissed her off to no end. I said that accessing the site took the same number of clicks it'd take to access an email about the grade, so there was no point. She cried, yelled, and kept pushing, and threatened to take this to the principal, who was her best friend. I finally said that, if I could keep track of all the grades for the 3 grade levels I taught, surely she could handle keeping track of grades for one kid. Just one incident of many with my beady-eyed bitch of a coworker. That I gave their child a detention for saying something foul in Spanish. I guess they just didn't like this gringo calling their child out for the stuff they were saying. Edit, admins caved to the parents. I was less than amused. I witnessed a parent complaining at the end of a primary school concert that it wasn't fair that their child had no discernible musical talent and that the school should stop giving instrument lessons to the kids who were keen or talented. I've never seen the music teacher genuinely speechless for so long. A music student of mine refused to sing one of her lessons in class because she had difficulty reading her bass clef. Her parents came to complain that it's not fair I'm singling their daughter out because how is she supposed to know this clef? Well, this is her final year in solfege, so. The school my wife teaches at a school that uses Class Dojo. It does a lot of different things, but it is essentially behavioral control system. She can give kids points for doing the right thing, and can take away points if they do the wrong thing. The parents who sign up for notifications get them sent straight to their phone or computer. She had one student this year who was refusing to do work, and was being disrespectful to the student teacher. She was basically telling the student teacher that she wasn't really a teacher and the student, didn't have to listen to her, the student teacher. My wife overheard what was going on and took away a point for disrespect. The girl's parents came in the next day and the dad was demanding that my wife change the disrespectful point. He didn't mind that his daughter lost a point, but he was pissed off that she lost a point for being disrespectful. He told her that a 7-year-old isn't capable of disrespect and insisted that this was going to ruin her chances at getting into Stanford because they would see her as a disrespectful person. My wife explained that this information is simply a way to track behavior and communicate with the parents. It has nothing to do with a permanent record. It's just an app. The dad continued to demand that it be changed, and my wife eventually relented. She changed it to a refusal to work point instead. I'm not sure if Stanford thinks being lazy is better than being disrespectful, but the dad seemed to think so. Edit, my wife said that the correct term is behavioral management, not behavioral control.